Law Live. I'm Jackie Mendez. I'm your host for today's show. We have a great show lined up for you guys, an excellent panel. First off, I'd like to remind you guys that if you are watching us on YouTube or Facebook, go ahead, click the like, subscribe, and share button, because you never know who you may be doing a grand favor for. Once again, that number on the screen too is 888-88-LEGAL. Give us a call. The show's live. We'd love to hear from you guys. Let's go ahead and introduce our attorneys for today. First up, we have Frank Hara.
Hi, how are you? How's everything?
Everything's great. Good to have you back, Frank. And of course, Javier Rodriguez.
Thanks, Jackie. Great to be here.
And the lovely Jennifer Pratt.
Well, thank you, Jackie. Hello, welcome back, gentlemen.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to be here this evening with you all.
We missed you guys.
We missed you too. Yeah. We missed talking about workmen's compensation and labor laws.
I miss you guys so much.
Which is what we're going to be talking about today. So let's go ahead and kick off the conversation. 888-88-LEGAL. Give us a call at any time.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's the free show. And why is it free? Because all the cases we'll be speaking about this evening are cases where you don't have to pay us anything up front. That's right. These cases will be prosecuted. We will pay the cost. We will take it all the way to trial if we have to. And it will cost you zero unless we collect. Once we collect, a little bit of a different story, but until then, it is a free case. And like Ms. Mendez said, today we're going to be talking to Attorney Hara regarding labor cases. That includes minimum wage, overtime, anything going on at your job right now. Give us a call. Consultation is free. You'll be able to speak to Attorney Hara. We'll be able to diagnose your case and see if we can help you. And Attorney Rodriguez is going to be talking to us about workers' compensation, and I'll sprinkle in a little personal injury. So, as you noticed, we've missed Attorney Hara and Attorney Rodriguez. They've been gone fishing for the last couple of weeks. I'm kidding. They've been going to trial. They've had serious stuff, and I'd love to hear all about it, gentlemen. But I want to do a quick recap in this first segment, because just in case someone is tuning in for the first time, or maybe you just forgot what labor and workers' comp is all about, I'd like to start with Attorney Hara. If you could give us a brief overview of what labor cases you handle and what you're seeing in your day-to-day that perhaps may be able to help someone that's watching or hearing us today.
Thank you so much. Yes. Quick recap, labor law here is really wage and hour. What we're talking about is for those employees that go out there and are working either less than minimum wage or working in excess of 40 hours and not getting paid their overtime. So basically, if you're not making minimum wage, or if you're working more than 40 hours and not getting paid time and a half, those are violations, and those are some of the claims that I bring. You mentioned I went fishing recently. I was actually at a mediation for one of these very cases, and it was a car dealer had got sued for violations, and in that case, at the it was the settlement conference in front of the judge, the magistrate judge. So it's a little bit more oomph to it than a regular settlement conference, and we were successful. And of course, attorney's fees were collected and paid for by the employer. So these are the types of things that have been going on lately, so haven't been fishing.
You've been fishing for that money, honey. I want to go back to you after Attorney Rodriguez gives us his recap. I think that's super interesting. I have so many questions about you having a settlement conference in front of the adjudicator. Like, that's really interesting to me, because usually in the civil family context, when you have a mediation, it's confidential. You would never present these issues, or so I definitely want to hear more about that. Welcome back, Attorney Rodriguez. For the people who have forgotten, or maybe first time tuning in, what is workers' comp? How do they know if they have a claim or someone they love may have a claim?
Yeah, workers' comp is exactly that. It's basic. If you had an accident at work, you have a case. It sounds very simple, very easy, because it is. No matter what kind of injury you had, if you're on the clock, if you're working, you have a case. And when you have a case, they got to do basically two things for you. One, they got to pay for all your medical care, meaning your doctor visits, your hospital, ER, medications, physical therapy. You don't pay a dime for any of that. The insurance company for the employer pays 100% of that. And then secondly, when the doctor has you off of work because of your injury, they got to send you money. Yeah, they got to send you checks to your house every week. So it's a percentage of your salary. While you're not working, you're getting compensated while you're at home getting better. And then talking about mediations, with workers' comp, it's very similar. Once we file that petition, we're going to get a mediation date, typically within 3 months. And at that time, we sit down with the employer, with the workers' comp insurance company, and we can try and settle your case. So we're either going to resolve issues, meaning if they didn't give you the right doctor or didn't pay you the right compensation, or we can settle the case outright, where they put a lump sum of money in your pocket to close it out.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
And you can go fishing after you get all that money too.
That's right.
Thank you so much, Attorney Rodriguez. Once again, that number on the screen, 888-88-LEGAL. The first consultation will be free.
And do you handle these mediations as the general magistrate or judge there, similar to Attorney Hara's mediation?
No, so every judge has a mediator assigned to that judge. So once the case gets filed, we'll get a notice with the mediation. You know, a mediator typically, I'm not sure in Harris' case, but typically they're a neutral party. Like you mentioned, you can tell everything to that mediator, it's confidential, and those discussions cannot be used in your trial, in your workers' comp trial, if it gets to that point.
So they don't go, the mediator doesn't go back and communicate with the judge like, I think this person was right at mediation, even though that's the mediator for the judge, like the judge's mediator, I should say.
No, everything that's there is confidential. The mediator has no dealings with the judge, other than filing the report saying, A, we resolved issues, B, we settled the case, or 3, we have an impasse and we need a trial date.
Attorney Hara, we got about a minute left, but I promised that we would go back. I'm really interested to know, with this GM that you're there, you know, letting it all out, I would imagine, all your, you know, there's no, everything in your toolbox is coming out. How does that work? Do you later, if you don't reach an agreement, do you later go back to this GM and argue your case, but he or she already has all the, I don't know, how does that work?
Well, basically what happens is when you get a magistrate jurisdiction, all parties have to agree to magistrate jurisdiction. Now the magistrate typically only handles certain cases. So in this case, the settlement conferences would be handled by the magistrate judge. It would also be confidential, but typically the magistrate judge wouldn't be the same judge that hears the ultimate case at trial. You would actually get a regular judge unless all parties agree for the final disposition to be done by a magistrate judge. But the confidentiality still exists, except with the force of a magistrate judge behind it.
That's interesting.
Thank you so much, Attorney Hara. We do have to take a quick commercial break, like Ms. Pratt said. So once again, give us a call, 888-88-LEGAL. We'll be back in just a couple with Attorney Hara, Attorney Rodriguez, talking workman's comp, talking more labor law. So don't go anywhere. And
we'll be right back. And when we come back from the break, I want to talk to Attorney Hara and Attorney Rodriguez about specific cases that we've been seeing in the office. And hopefully, or maybe not, maybe so, you'll relate. We'll be right back. Stay tuned after the break.
I know you're home right now asking yourself, how? How will I pay my rent, my mortgage, my bills, my credit card debt? I'm attorney Alexis Garcia with PraDa Law. I've personally helped people with financial problems over the last 10 years. I understand what you are going through. We saw people lose it all in the 2008 financial crisis. You don't have to lose it all. The consultation is free. Call us now. I will help protect what you have built. You have nothing to lose by calling us. Call us now. These are trying times. This deadly virus is affecting our health, economy, jobs, our small business owners. Bankruptcy protection may be able to save assets and immediately stop your creditors from harassing you. Small business owners, employees of business of any size. We know you need help. Call us now. We will help you get back on your feet. Don't wait until it's too late. This is the time to call.
Sé que estás en la casa ahora mismo preguntándote, ¿cómo voy a pagar la hipoteca, la renta, los biles, las tarjetas de crédito? Soy la abogada Jennifer Pratt con PraDa Law. Yo personalmente he ayudado a las personas con problemas financieros durante los últimos 10 años. Yo entiendo por lo que estás pasando. Vimos cómo la gente lo perdió todo durante la crisis financiera del 2008. No tienes que perderlo todo. Llama ahora. La consulta es gratis. Te ayudaremos a proteger todo lo que has construido durante todos estos años. Sabemos que estos son tiempos difíciles. Este virus mortal está amenazando nuestra salud, nuestra economía, nuestros empleos y a los propietarios de nuestras pequeñas empresas. La consulta es gratis. Llame ahora. Te ayudaremos a recuperarte. No esperes hasta que sea demasiado tarde. Llame ya.
welcome back. Once again, I'm Jackie Mendez. This is PraDa Law Live, ladies and gentlemen. That number on the screen, 888-88-LEGAL. Your first consultation will be free. Let's get back into the conversation. I know Jennifer had some questions.
I always have some questions.
That's right.
You got some questions for them?
I do too.
Think about some questions that we got for the attorneys today. All right. before the break, I promised that we would talk about some specific scenarios that have come up in the last couple of weeks. Even while these gentlemen were out fishing, we were still busy getting your calls and receiving all your cases. So Attorney Hara, remember Attorney Hara focuses on all labor disputes, all labor cases. We had a case in the office, and I mentioned to you during the break that I've seen this happen in other industries. And for example, I've seen it with cleaning people. People that go to someone's house and they accidentally break something, okay, maybe a very expensive sculpture or something while they're cleaning, or ruin something. I had a cleaning lady that put bleach on tile that, you know, just destroyed the tile. And whether or not, if you're someone that's been working and during the scope of your employment, you accidentally, I would hope accidentally, break something at your place of work. For example, our production team here, if they were to break one of these very expensive cameras, would we be allowed to deduct that camera from their pay, Attorney Hara? And so listen up, if you're someone or you know someone that has worked somewhere where you did something that caused damage to your employer's property, and now your employer is attempting to collect on that damage from your pay, in other words, deduct it from your pay, Attorney Hara, can they do that?
Not without the employee's consent.
Ooh, I love it.
The employee, they obviously, in certain situations, the employer may have a right to recover something from the employee, but it's not done by simply grabbing the money from their paycheck, unless the attorney, unless the employee agrees. Typically, a lot of these situations, the companies are insured for losses. The companies, if it's a supermarket, let's say, damaged goods get returned to vendors. So the companies usually are protected. Typically, the response that could be done for one of these is they terminate you because you did a poor job, you crashed a car, you damaged property, and they could ask you to pay it, and they could potentially sue you for the damages if, you know, there's no way for them to recover, it wasn't insured, you caused a car accident. Yeah, you could probably be held liable, but they can't deduct it from your paycheck.
So in this situation, if you are someone that is getting deducted, we should give you a call then.
Yes, most definitely. If you did not consent to the employer taking the money out of your paycheck, it's a problem.
What about those tricky consents? Just like when you buy like one of those products online that every time you click, it's like, I agree, I agree. Could it have been snuck into a contract at the beginning of the employer-employee relationship where it says, I consent in the event of any damage?
I guess the answer to that question is yes, but typically, in most employers where wage and hour would apply are just applications, and usually when you fill out the application, it doesn't bind you to anything. Now, if you have an employment contract, then maybe you're not a wage and hour, and we would have to take a look to see whether the wage and hour statute would apply, or if we would have to go pursuant to the contract.
Right. So, like, well, let's say, like, I'm a musician. And let's say I damage equipment on stage, like I damage a microphone. How would that kind of work? I'm not, you know, their employer. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm not
their employee.
Right, I'm not their employee. I just, you know, came in for a one-time gig, or, you know, how would that work?
You only have to look at whatever agreement you have. Typically, third parties are responsible for their own damages. They're required to have their own insurance, their own coverage. So in that case, if you were to damage something that belongs to the place, to the location, then you may be liable, but still, they're probably not going to be able to just deduct it unless it's allowed in their contract with you.
Good to know.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on Hera, like you mentioned earlier, a lot of those things they have insurance for, right? So I represent a guy who was driving a forklift, literally drove the forklift into inventory, destroyed over $100,000 worth of inventory. He got hurt and he got fired. Well, he called us 4 months after the fact, thinking, hey, do I still have a workers' comp case? Because I destroyed this guy's inventory. They obviously fired me for it. Luckily, he didn't get hit, you know, with any kind of cost that he had to repay. But the answer to the question is yes, even though he was fired for cause, he had an accident on the job and he's entitled to compensation. So this dude literally drove a forklift into the inventory. Wow. He sustained an injury and he still has a case. You know, he was shocked. He couldn't believe it. He said, well, listen, this was my fault. I caused the damage. I basically hurt myself. And that's the beauty about workers' comp. As long as you're at work, even if it's your fault, you have a case.
And I know we're coming up on our next commercial break, but this is the same theme that we talked about last week, where we talked with attorney Trisha Whittlefield regarding the women who have the babies that come out with some sort of brain damage and how they're reluctant to come forward because they think that somehow the child was born this way because it was their fault. So it's that my fault theme. Same thing with workers' compensation. Even if it's your fault, even if there's no doubt that the accident was your fault, listen to what attorney Rodriguez is saying. You still have a right to workers' comp as long as you were injured on the job.
That's right. Well, we do have to come up on another commercial break, but we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. That number on the screen again, 888-88-LEGAL. Stay tuned.
I know you're home right now asking yourself, how? How will I pay my rent, my mortgage, my bills, my credit card debt? I'm attorney Alexis Garcia with PraDa Law. I've personally helped people with financial problems over the last 10 years. I understand what you are going through. We saw people lose it all in the 2008 financial crisis. You don't have to lose it all. The consultation is free. Call us now. I will help protect what you have built. You have nothing to lose by calling us. Call us now. These are trying times. This deadly virus is affecting our health, economy, jobs, our small business owners. Bankruptcy protection may be able to save assets and immediately stop your creditors from harassing you. Small business owners, employees of business of any size. We know you need help. Call us now. We will help you get back on your feet. Don't wait until it's too late. This is the time to call.
Sé que estás en la casa ahora mismo preguntándote, ¿cómo? ¿Cómo voy a pagar la hipoteca, la renta, los biles, las tarjetas de crédito? Soy la abogada Jennifer Pratt con PraDa Law. Yo personalmente he ayudado a las personas con problemas financieros durante los últimos 10 años. Yo entiendo por lo que estás pasando. Vimos cómo la gente lo perdió todo durante la crisis financiera del 2008. No tienes que perderlo todo. Llama ahora. La consulta es gratis. Te ayudaremos a proteger todo lo que has construido durante todos estos años. Sabemos que estos son tiempos difíciles. Este virus mortal está amenazando nuestra salud, nuestra economía, nuestros empleos y a los propietarios de nuestras pequeñas empresas. La consulta es gratis. Llame ahora. Te ayudaremos a recuperarte. No esperes hasta que sea demasiado tarde. Llame ya.
Welcome back to PraDa Law Live. Once again, I'm Jackie Mendez, and we are here with Attorney Hara and Attorney Rodriguez, Attorney Pratt. And just before the break, we were talking about a story, and I just kind of want to get one thing straight. So this gentleman was driving a car on the job. He crashed into the window of the inventory of this place, and yet he's still getting paid for it. He got money because he crashed into a window. I just don't. It's mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, it's a funny story, but it's a true story. It was actually a forklift, so he was in the warehouse, and again, just must have been preoccupied, not paying attention, but nails the forklift into the inventory, done. And he didn't even know he had a case. Basically, one of his friends had another accident on the job, and he referred him to come and see me. And again, it's odd, but it's the truth. Sometimes you think, it's my fault, I have no remedy, I can't file a case. But with workers' comp, it's almost like strict liability. As long as you're on the job, you don't have to prove that the injury was someone else's fault. You don't have to prove negligence as you do in a car accident case, that the other party rear-ended me or caused the accident. Workers' comp, it's simple, it's basic. If you got hurt at work, you have a case.
Right,
Similar
okay.
with the wage and hour cases, if we can allege that you worked, it's up to the employer to establish you didn't work those hours. So, you know, these cases are usually pretty good for the employee. They're very friendly to the employee just because the employees have such little bargaining power against their employers. So this is why these laws are set up.
Thank you so much. Once again, that number on the screen, 888-88-LEGAL. Give us a call. That first consultation will be free. And I have a question for you, Attorney Pratt. Would this be a personal injury case as well?
Because which one? The
yeah.
So very good question. So I would say no, only because it happened in the scope of work and it wasn't a vehicle. I know Attorney Rodriguez and I have spoken in the past that there may be a possibility that you have both a personal injury case and a workers' compensation case when you're in an actual auto accident. So you'd be driving an actual vehicle. Not to say that a forklift arguably is not a vehicle. I'm sure if I was drunk on a forklift, someone out there would give me a DUI, some officer. But arguably speaking, in terms of insurances, bodily injury, and then also you hitting or another car hitting you.
Right.
But what's really important, and again, I don't want to deter anyone from it, is the difference between how in a workers' compensation case, you're listening to Attorney Rodriguez explain, it doesn't matter whose fault it was. It doesn't matter if the worker employee was texting, was literally looking up and was completely distracted. In those kind of cases, because of that somewhat strict liability theory, they're able to collect. They're able to make a claim and hopefully collect as well. With personal injury, typically we do want the client to not be at fault, but I've been successful, and every case is different, in determining percentages of liability. So even when you think the accident was your fault, even if you've gotten the ticket, still give us a call. You have absolutely nothing to lose. The consultation is free. Allow us to review your case, because there's a possibility that based on how the accident occurred, especially, listen carefully, if there were multiple vehicles involved, that we may be able to carve out a percentage of liability for you, so that even though you were somewhat at fault, if we were to take this in front of a jury, you could still possibly collect at least your percentage that is decided that you're not liable. For example, we say you're only 75% liable. Well, that 25%, the state of Florida is one of those states that allows for us to still go after the other side for that 25%. And in some of these cases, that could be, depending on what we're settling for or asking the jury for a verdict, could be a substantial amount of money depending on the case.
That's right. Thank you so much, Attorney Pratt. Once again, 888-88-LEGAL. Give us a call. The consultation will be free.
Thank you, Jackie. And I want to go back to Attorney Hara about, this is the free show. We're here for plaintiff's work, for the employee. But you mentioned the little bargaining power for the employer, the actual owner of the company or whatnot. I know that we've talked about in the past. Is this something that you can also assist employers to avoid these pitfalls, these traps that you're seeing after so many cases?
Most definitely. I feel, especially smaller businesses, entrepreneurs that aren't very experienced, they fall into these traps all the time. They think that they can make up overtime by giving them days off in the next week or cutting their hours. It doesn't work that way. So a lot of times I see these employers and I'm like, wow, had they just done this, that, or the other, they could have avoided this whole mess. And a lot of times the violation itself is only a couple $1,000s, a couple $1,000, but you add to that liquidated damages, you add to that attorney's fees, the $2,000 case now turns into a $15,000 case. If you hired an attorney to just come in and check out your business, you probably would have spent, let's say, a couple $1,000s. They would have checked out everything, done an audit of your business, and told you, hey, these are your pitfalls, do this, do that, change this, and have more protections.
As a business owner, especially a small business owner, especially in the state where we're living in now with COVID and so many small businesses struggling, I know you're probably saying to yourself, there's no way I can afford an attorney to come in and do this, let's say, audit for me to make sure that my business is in accordance with the law. Well, let me tell you, let me remind you that in these cases, you will have to pay not only your attorney fees to defend these cases, but you'll have to pay your employees' attorney fees. And the standard is very low. And we've talked about this before, about how the burden shifts from the employee to you. It is one of the most unusual areas of law. This might be the best money you've ever spent.
You know what? If you like, since this is the free show, we can, I don't know how you feel about this, but I'll be happy to do a free audit of your small business and then just, that's an opportunity to just open the door.
You heard right. Right. Free audit. Give us a call. Ask for Attorney Hara, not me. Thank you.
Well, we are coming up at the end of the show. Once again, that number 888-88-LEGAL. If you're watching us on Facebook, YouTube, go ahead, like, share, subscribe. We'd love to hear from you guys, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Attorney Rodriguez. Last word, last 10 seconds for you.
How big was the fish?
Pretty big fish. Pretty big fish.
Give us a call. This is the free show. Workers' compensation, labor, personal injury. Give us a call. You have nothing to lose. First consultation is free. We cannot wait to see you all tomorrow. Happy Thursday. Bye-bye.